Shut the fuck up. Know your fucking place, trash.
God damn it. Hi everyone, Lyanthony Hearts Tano here, back with another Destiny 2 review, and the Graviton Lance, it's not good. But maybe it doesn't have to be that way. Today we're going to review the Graviton Lance and how it currently sits as of the Season of the Lost Sandbox. We're going to talk about it in depth, get into the stats, get into some of the nitty gritty stuff, and then we're going to see what we can do to save one of the most unique visual and sounding weapons in the history of Destiny. Because there's a lot to like about Graviton, it just has a couple of holdover issues that prevent it from ever being viable in endgame PvP. So let's talk about it. Really, the biggest issue with Graviton Lance starts and ends with time to kill. If you take a look at the Ttk chart for Destiny 2, the most up-to-date one I could find was for Season of the Splicer, which is good enough, that's only one season out of date. Anyways, if you look at the Ttk chart, the lowest base optimal Ttk in the game for adaptive sidearms is 0.6 seconds, and the highest base TTK in the game is 1 second. Nothing has a base optimal TTK that includes precision shots above 1 second. Graviton Lance is in the slowest category. It is a 1 second optimal time to kill. The sweet spot for the meta right now is 0.87 seconds. That's your adaptive 140 hand cannons. Your palindromes, your Fatebringers, Ace of Spades, Thorn, all of that stuff sits right there in that base optimal 0.87 time to kill. These weapons are the most versatile in the meta, they offer great range, great dueling. That's why 140 hand cannons are some of the best weapons in the entire game. Not necessarily because they have the fastest time to kill, they have the most adaptable time to kill. They are the most consistent across the board. Stuff like high impact pulses or aggressive SMGs may offer lower time to kills, but they are less adaptable weapon types. A weapon we recently talked about, the contingency plan, has a slower than optimal time to kill at 0.93, but it's a very adaptable weapon. That's part of the reason why I really enjoy it. Graviton Lance is anything if adaptable. This weapon is slow, it is clunky, it has incredibly high recoil, and it has no foreseeable benefits to offset that slow optimal time to kill. And if you don't hit your optimal time to kill, your time to kill plummets off the side of a cliff into a volcano filled with sharks that are going to explode in the volcano. If you're in some kind of god-awful hell world where you have to try and go for a full body shot kill with Graviton, it is the second slowest body shot time to kill in the game at 1.8 seconds. So that gap between 1 and 1.8 seconds between your optimal and body shot time to kill is huge. So if you don't hit your crits, your time to kill goes up exponentially. So already not a great start, right? We have a weapon with a bad optimal time to kill, an even worse body shot time to kill, and an unforgiving recoil pattern. So what is your compensation for that? Well, you get a pulse rifle that fires 2 shots instead of 3, with the bulk of the damage being on the second shot in the burst. You get the ability to have no damage fall off on your shots. The weapon strength just doesn't feel damage fall off. If you get a kill, you will spawn basically a scatter grenade of void explosions that will occasionally maybe kinda sorta track to nearby targets. And if you finish the catalyst, you get a nice bump to your stats and the hidden hand perk from D1. That's it. The damage profile for this weapon is bad. There's no way to augment your time to kill. No damage boost you can apply to Graviton Lance ever moves you off of the 1 second optimal time to kill. It just changes how many crits you need. Usually these weapons with slow optimal time to kills are usually balanced out with something that can augment them. Again, we go to contingency plan. 0.93 base, but if you get kill clip, it goes down to 0.73 and suddenly it's a monster. 180 hand cannons. If you get a damage perk that allows them to 3-tap, they go straight to that old, not forgotten sweet spot of 0.67. It's not the same for Graviton. If you sit in Empowering Rift, if you apply Charge with Light, you apply Weapons of Light, you are never going to get to the point where you are requiring less than 3 bursts to kill. So you're always in this 1 second time to kill purgatory. And while the upside of theoretical infinite range is interesting, in practice that's just not how it works. Well, yes, your weapon's bullets do not have damage falloff of Graviton Lance. Your aim assist, and more importantly, your accuracy cone still exists. So past a certain point, around 60 meters or so, you're going to find it very hard to actually maintain consistent critical hit shots. And then why would you even want to duel in that range? Because scout rifles are not only going to be stickier, they all kill either just as fast or faster than you. And then maybe you scoot closer so you don't have to fight the scout rifles. Well, you're losing to literally every pulse rifle archetype. Even adaptives beat you in optimal time to kill. Adaptives! The worst! Milquetoast, saltine sandwich on white, scared of salt weapon class in the game. Adaptive pulses are better than you. So that leaves Graviton in a position where, again, for the cost of extremely high recoil and a very wonky damage profile, you get the bonuses of theoretical unlimited range, the ability to occasionally spawn dragonfly-like projectiles. And that's it. There's no time to kill shifts, there's no range where this thing beats other weapon archetypes, it has no meaningful place in the game, and is by far one of the most out-of-place weapons in the history of Destiny. This weapon has been forgotten. Okay, we're gonna end the critique of Graviton and talk a little bit about the history. Now, if you've been playing Destiny for a while, you know that there was a point in life where Graviton was actually the best weapon in the game. It was during the Warmind meta before Forsaken, back when we still had double primary. Graviton Lance had an incredible time to kill profile in that era where everything was sitting closer to 1 second optimally, and of course no shotguns, no snipers, no fusion rifles in the special ammo slot. Very different game at that point. It was Vigilance Wing, it was Graviton Lance, and Graviton Lance was the better of the two options. When Forsaken hit, every single weapon in the game was brought forward into a new TTK profile, except for a few weird examples. 110 hand cannons weren't changed, Crimson wasn't changed, and Graviton Lance wasn't changed. Note, this was back before 110s were made into 120s. Now, I have been a staunch ally and supporter of the buff Crimson camp. It went like something like 2 years after Forsaken without having its base time to kill brought to the new Forsaken standard that it should have had. And then Bungie did it. They brought it forward, and now Crimson is an incredibly underrated, niche, but very viable hand cannon in the game. Hint hint, video coming soon about that. But Graviton, and by extension really pulse rifles, haven't seen that kind of love in what feels like years. Here's a fun fact. Did you know that Vigilance Wing was the last unique, brand new to the Destiny franchise exotic pulse rifle introduced? It came out 4 years ago. Since then, the only exotic pulse rifles brought back were D1 reprisals. And I'm not really mad about that, because I like all the D1 pulses they brought back, but the only unique exotic pulses we have in Destiny 2 are Graviton Lance and Vigilance Wing. That's it. So it's very important to me, for the sake of variety, that these weapons be viable. Vigilance Wing is a monster. It's fine. Don't touch it. Graviton Lance hasn't had any love in 4 years. It hasn't had any significant change or buff in 4 years. Do you know how many metas we've gone through since Graviton Lance was last buffed? It's ridiculous. This is a weapon with just so much going for it. Its design is great. Its sound is fantastic. It might be one of the best sounding things in any video game ever. I mean, just listen to it. Like, cut the audio, listen to the Graviton. It's beautiful. So I want the Graviton to be better. I want the Graviton to be something I want to use. So how do we go about that? I think there's 2 roads to go down for the Graviton. One where you maintain it being a theoretical infinite range pulse, so you can't really overbuff its damage, or suddenly it will power creep a lot of the long range weapons in the game. Or 2, you get rid of the infinite range, but you allow the damage profiles to be set up in such a way that with damage boosts you could potentially 2 burst with Graviton Lance. So let's talk about Route 1. I'm not opposed to that. You can make a 1 second time to kill work if you know how to play your ranges correctly. Once again, contingency plan. So what do we do to make that better? Well, regardless of which path we go down, Graviton Lance needs to have its recoil at least halved. The sudden burst of recoil on the second shot on the burst is so jarring, it's so weird, and it just feels bad to use. There's no justification for it. The weapon is not good enough that you can make the recoil is the balancing argument. Like, nothing else in Destiny abides by that rule anyway. Even 120s, which feel like they are smacking you in the teeth, have very controllable recoil. Recoil is just, one, not a fun way to balance things in a movement shooter, and two, doesn't matter in this game anywhere else. Nothing else has this stiff of a recoil requirement, so get rid of it. Just, regardless, just stop. Make the Graviton Lance much more stable, and already the usability of the weapon goes way up. Secondly, with the upcoming changes in Witch Queen, of the Void subclasses getting the Stasis subclass treatment with the aspects and fragments, the Graviton Lance Void projectiles should proc subclass tree perks. Think about how Stasis weapons with headstones interact with aspects and fragments right now. I want that with Graviton and Void. It's basically spawning a scatter grenade anyway, so imagine the build potential in both PvE and PvP if it could somehow proc like Volatile Detonation from Middle Tree Sentinel, or it could proc Devour from Bottom Tree Void, or Bloom from Top Tree Voidwalker. Hunters, I don't really know what you guys do with grenades on Tether, because I don't play Hunter, so pretend I know what I'm talking about here. But giving that Graviton Lance that potential to work with subclass tree abilities would make it a very cool and very fun and very unique option. I like the idea of weapons and subclasses interacting more in general. I think that's kind of one of the coolest things we got out of the first introduction of Stasis legendary weapons. I hope Bungie doesn't shy away from that. It'd be cool to see it on stuff like Sunshot as well, but for Graviton specifically, interacting with the subclass changes coming to Void will be a huge step forward. Now for Route 2, once again, the stability change. Keep it. I think the third shot should come back to the burst. That was removed way long ago. I think actually back in Warmind was when they made a 2-burst weapon and it became a monster. But add the third shot back, increase the precision damage slightly on the base damage of the rifle, and with the 3 shots combined, dealing 16, 16, and then 57 damage per crit respectively, 2 bursts would now do 178 damage if you throw in a 15% damage boost from every common source, like say high energy fire with Charged Reliant. You would now be doing 204 damage and securing a 2 burst elimination on any Guardian. To compensate for this lightning fast TTK, I think it's fair that we should get rid of that infinite range and instead put it somewhere in the standard high impact pulse rifle range band. Anywhere from like 37 to 40 meters of effective range would probably be a good start. And even potentially lower because of the high damage profile on that last bullet. Damage fall off isn't going to be as severely felt on Graviton, so you could convince me to even go lower. This would give the dubstep cannon a very viable and fun playstyle that would lead to huge dueling potential, and I think would offer a lot of mastery to anyone who would actually give it a try. I doubt this would suddenly make Graviton overpowered because it can't self-activate this new time to kill shift. It has to be gotten through other means, either through rifts, Well of Radiance, high energy fire, etc, etc. I think it would actually put it firmly where Crimson sits, where it's a fun, unique exotic that feels exotic and is fun to use for those who decide to master it, but it doesn't just break the game or dominate in ways that other exotics tend to. So yeah, overall, Bungie, please help the Graviton. It's been way too long. It's one of the coolest and most unique weapons in the game, and I just want to see it be worth using. Playing with it for this video sucked. It was pain. It was an assist simulator. It was not fun to use. Even in games where I slayed out, I just couldn't help sit there in the back of my mind and be like, wow, it's really cool that I just dropped 40. I could have done that way less painlessly with literally anything else. So please help the Graviton, make the Wub Cannon be good again, please.